Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Johan and today we're going to look at graphs, especially AmChart graphs and implementing them as component into Dataflex. I have made a video about graphs and Google Graphs before, but it wasn't really implemented in a best practice manner. So I'm going to try to do that in this video. Let's see how that goes. Before we start, I can say that in the Learning Center of Dataflex, there's a class on custom controls with Henry, and it's really good and deep and covers a lot of things that you want to know about custom components, like how to send data, how to send value trees, which is compressing data in a good way so it's transferred properly. We're not going to use all of these things in this video, but it's a good resource if you want to dive deeper into components, because you can use them with more or less anything on the web that has JavaScript and make it into a Dataflex component. We're also going to use AmCharts, and I realized there are AmCharts 5 on the way, but we're going to stick with 4 because those are the ones I've been working most with and I know. Not that that makes that much of a difference, because they have really great demo pages with sample code that we can use. And we're also going to use a CDN-like approach where we can just have it on the page, because it makes it easier for you as well to play with the code and then download it. Usually I have a local copy in my own workspace that I refer to instead of having it online like this, because then I can work with it even if I don't have an internet connection. So that's that. And where do we begin? Well, we have this application, and I want to do a pie chart over the categories, so I see how many things I have in each category. And for that, I'm going to do a new page with where I add that component. And in our application, we then want to add a new page. Say web object, and we want a web view. Statistics. And let's call it O statistics. This is where we're going to put our graph. And here we get this label. I don't want the label. I do want a component for the graph, so we're going to use that. We're going to create that. And the way we do that is we create a new class. And we call this C-Web AmCharts. Right? And what I want to do here is I want to use the C-Web base control instead of a C object. I want to use a base control. I'm not sure if that's necessary, but it gives us all the web controls that we want in our components. I think that will work. It doesn't. It says in the documentation that it's not recommended to use this one, but well, I'm inclined to use it anyway for this purpose. And here we want to do some stuff, but let's see, we can add this component here. Add class to palette, and let's pick something that looks like a pie chart. This one. All right. So now we have our component, and we can just drag it into our interface, and it's pretty small. I'm going to make it a lot bigger. But you see, we have the label here, and of course, you can always go and say label on top, and then you can type something. We have label, PS label there. Category charts. And that might be a good solution, actually. Yeah, let's stick with that. Now, we do need to connect this to the JavaScript. And if we go in here and we want to pick a simple pie chart, we can go down here and look at the resources we need. So this is what we want to copy into the index HTML, somewhere down here near the head. And what we also want to do here is we want to add the script that we're going to play with. And we're going to put that in our app HTML folder, in a folder called web AmCharts. Web AmCharts .ts. Script. And now we're going to our Dataflex repository and go to the app HTML. We create a new folder. Web charts. And we create a new file here. And yes, add that to what we want to do here. To begin with, in Dataflex, we want to make sure that the namespace exists. And do that by writing dfcc. If that does not exist, then var dfcc is a regular object. And we also want our constructor variable that we can work with. In this case, it's a chart. Like that. And we want to connect this, or yeah. So let's see dot charge pi equals function. And in this case, we want to take s name as a parameter and oprnt. Not sure what prnt does, but it's included in the sample, so I do not dare skip it for now. And we have a dfcc dot base dot apply, and this argument. So that should take the arguments and run this, and we want to I think that should be all we need for the constructor here. And then we want to define the df.define class, dfcc.web.py, and this is a df.webbase. That should then match what we have picked down here. And so that works. And then we have an object here, and we finish that. This is where we put our application behavior. And the first thing is we need a open HTML function that actually provides the HTML object for us that we can then modify. And we want to do a forward send. And we do that by calling dfcc.amChartPy.base.openHTML so that we get the base class of this gets the call as well, base functionality, and then we do HTML.push to add our HTML that we want into the array. So this one should add some kind of HTML, and if we go to the pie chart sample, and if we go down to the bottom, you see the HTML. So we want all the HTML right here. And that's what we're going to put in here. But now if we call every single chart div, that's going to cause problem. So we actually want to access the this dot is name, and then it will get the same name as the implementation. So it's actually accessing this name here, as we'll see. And now that's on board. We also want to have, I'm not sure if we need to add this. There's a close HTML. This is what's going on after. If you have like adding some HTML in the beginning, doing something, and then adding some HTML in the end. But the important function that we want to have is the after render. And what's going on inside here is all the things that comes after the .ready function here. So these are the things that AmCharts do to generate the graph. And we're just going to put them in here. Now we're almost done. But the thing is, now we have this component and we have added the component to our space here, but the render function after render is not called, so we are not getting anything on the screen. So in order to do that, we want to use on show, and we need to activate that, set pb server on show to true. And then we can go down here and say procedure on show. And then we want to send a graph to our O web AmChart. And we want to actually implement it in our component. Procedure update graph. And here we want to send light action update graph. So now we need to implement this update graph feature in here as well. So we can call it function. And for now, we just want this to return. It seems like we missed a small detail here. We need to set the PSJS class to pfcc dot AmCharts I, so that this one knows that it's this constructor that we are calling. So it's this one is referring back to that one. In our JavaScript, we need to also set this name here when it refers to the object, so that this JavaScript is updating the correct div up here. So that's why we need them both. And now let's see. There you go. Now we have our graph on the page, and that's where I'm going to end this video. Now you can, of course, go in and update the JavaScript file and say that, okay, we want to update the values here. Say this is 10 for Australia and 2000 for Germany. That would do some really interesting change to the graph, I think. So there you see Germany got 2000 and Australia got literally disappeared. Next week, we're going to create our own data object and push that to this graph and see how that goes. See you then. Bye-bye.